There was a contest in which a mortal dared to compete with Athena. That mortal was Arachne, a maiden who had attained such skill in the arts of weaving and embroidery that the nymphs themselves would leave their groves and fountains to come and gaze upon her work. It was not only graceful when it was done, but beautiful also in doing. To watch her as she took her wool in its crude state and formed it into coils, or separated it with her fingers, and carded it till it looked as light and soft as a cloud, or twirled the spindle with skillful touch, or wove the web of silk after it was woven, or embroidered with her needle, one would have said that Athena herself had taught her. But this she denied, and would not bear to be taught, a pupil even of a goddess. "Let Athena try her skill with mine," she said. "If beaten, I will pay the penalty." Athena heard this and was displeased. She assumed the form of an old woman and went and gave Arachne some friendly advice. "I have had much experience," she said, "and I hope you will not despise my counsel. I challenge you to acknowledge your faults as you will, but do not compete with a goddess. On the contrary, I advise you to ask her forgiveness for what you have said, and as she is merciful, perhaps she will pardon you." Arachne stopped her spinning and looked at the old dame with anger in her countenance. "Keep your counsel," she said, "for your daughters or handmaids. For my part, I know what I say, and I stand to it. I am not afraid of the goddess. Let her try her skill if she dares venture." "She comes," said Athena, and dropping her disguise stood confess. The nymphs bent low in homage, and all the bystanders paid reverence. Arachne alone was unterrified. She blushed, indeed, a sudden color dyed her cheek, and then she grew pale. But she stood to her resolve, and with a foolish conceit of her own skill, rushed on her way. Athena forbore no longer, no interchange any further advice. They proceed to the contest. Each takes her station and attaches the web to the beam. Then the slender chattel is passed in and out among the threads. The reed with its fine teeth strikes the woof into its place and compacts the web. Both work with speed, their skillful hands move rapidly, and the excitement of the contest makes the labor light. Wool of Tyrian dye is constructed with that of other colors, shaded off into one another so adroitly that the joining deceives the eye. The white whose long arc tinges the heavens, formed by sunbeams reflected from the shower, in which where the colors meet. They seem as one, but a little distance from the point of contact are wholly different. Athena wrote on her web the scenes of her contest with Poseidon. 12 of the heavenly powers are represented. Zeus with august gravity, sitting in the midst. Poseidon, the ruler of the sea, holds his trident, and appears to have just smitten the earth from which a horse has leaped forth. Athena depicted herself with helmet and spear, her aegis covering her breast, which was the central circle, and in the four corners were represented incidents illustrating the displeasure of the gods at such presumptuous mortals as had dared to contend with them. These were meant as warnings to her rival to give up the contest before it was too late. Arachne filled her web with subjects designedly chosen to exhibit the failings and errors of the gods. One scene represented Leda cursing the swan, under which from Zeus had disguised himself, and another, Danae, in the brazen tower in which her father had imprisoned her, but where the god effected his entrance in the form of a golden shower. Still another depicted Europa deceived by Zeus under the disguise of a bull. Enraged by the eagerness of the animal, Europa ventured to mount his back, whereupon Zeus advanced into the sea and swam with her to Crete. You would have thought it was a real bull, so naturally was it rude, and so natural the water in which it swam. She seemed to look with longing eye back upon the shore she was leaving, and to call to her companions for help. Arachne depicted her canvas with similar subjects, wonderfully well done, but strongly marking her presumption and impiety. Athena could not foresee to admire yet felt indignant at the insult. She struck the bed with her shuttle and tore it in pieces. She then touched the forehead of Arachne and made her feel her guilt and shame. She could not endure it and went and hung herself. Athena pitied her as she saw her suspended by a rope. "Live," she said, "guilty woman, and that you may remember the lesson of this sin. Continue to hang, both you and your descendants, to all future times." Athena sprinkled her with the juices of aconite, and immediately her hair came off, and her nose and ears likewise. Her form shrunk up and her head grew smaller. Her fingers cleaved to her side and served for legs. All the rest of her body, out of which she spun her thread, often hanging suspended by it, in the same attitude as when Athena touched her and transformed her into a spider. And so, the moral of the threads remains. Arachne's skill was indeed magnificent, her mortal hands capable of matching a goddess in craft, but her pride, her hubris, was a poison that destroyed her. She failed to recognize the gift she had received, and dared to mock the very powers that govern the universe.